now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Deezer, Stitcher, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also, follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful lady from sunny California. She's got a book called Tears of the Silence. It's available on Kindle and Mango Publishing, also available on Amazon. And of course, she also had an interesting story to tell as well, too, that it's basically about what happened in the Amish community. This lady was not born in the Amish and was, of course, to join the community by her stepfather and mother, and she has a story to tell about that. And basically, it's just one of those cases of, being in sexual abuse and also PTSD, and also the height of the Me Too movement and the Harvey Weinstein trial. And this book, Tears of the Silence, is basically going to outline everything about what happened and what people can do about it. So, live, ladies and gentlemen, from sunny California, here to tell all about the book, Tears of the Silence, and more, ladies and gentlemen, Misty Griffin. Misty, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. So you have a book called Tears of the Silence, which is available on Kindle, Mango, and also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, and more. And, of course, this book sold over 150,000 copies, sold top 100 on Amazon 3 times, and you were 3 spaces behind Michelle Obama and 2 spaces behind Howard Stern, and it's about sexual abuse in the Amish community and basically just going through just all kinds of things, like, dressed like the Amish since you're 6 and 19 and everything else. And, of course, in coming up, Oxygen, they'll be releasing a 2-part documentary about child sexual abuse by Jehovah's Witnesses. And there's also an ongoing Harvey Weinstein trial, which at the time has now been decided, but there's more to come. And before we get into our book, tell us, how this all got started.
So writing the book, or how I started into the Amish?
Well, first of all, let's talk about, before the book, talk about how you got into the Amish.
So I wasn't born Amish, so it's a little bit unusual for the Amish to take in, anybody from the outside. They're pretty closed off. And for me, the way that I became a baptized church member in the Amish was that my stepfather, when I was like 6 years old, he was a wanted child molester. We were not Amish. We were really not religious or anything like that. But all of a sudden, he decided that we should start dressing and living like the Amish. But, traditionally when people, start wanting to, like, live a conservative lifestyle or, the plain lifestyle, they'll, go live around a community that lives like that, or they will join a community, with similar beliefs. But for us, we were just isolated. We were the only family like that. We never tried to go join any other church, with similar beliefs. My stepfather, he just started dressing us that way. We moved to a ranch when I was 11, and my sister and I were pretty much held like prisoners up there. We were the only family up there. There was a couple other families, but they were miles away from us. So we were just like this lone Amish-looking family that lived on a mountaintop until I was like almost 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I tried to escape the mountain. It was in northern Washington when I was 18 and a half because my mom and my stepfather were extremely abusive, physically and sexually. So I tried to run off the mountain. Up until that point, I'd been too scared to, try and run away because my stepfather, he always made like references that he would try to kill us, that, we could never get away from them. We couldn't survive without them. And I didn't know where to go because I was brainwashed into thinking that I had to be Amish in order to go to heaven. So, there was no Amish around us. So, it just kind of kept us up there. But finally, when I was 18 and a half, I tried to run off the mountain and I didn't make it. It was 6.5 miles into town on a dirt road. And, along the road, it was just really high sagebrush. So, there was no way to, get into town pretty much without getting caught. Mm-hmm. So my mom and my stepdad, they took me back to the farm, and that's when they said, we're going to take you to an Amish community.
Mm-hmm. And was it one precise moment that your stepfather decided that they're going to be Amish as well, too? What was that moment and the reasoning behind it?
You mean when I was 6 years old? Or
correct, yeah. It's like, he basically went through all the religions, and what was his main reason on going Amish at the time? Did he do any studying on it, or he just simply picked at random, or what was the reason behind it?
So, my stepfather, when my mother met him, my mother was 21 years old, and he was 47. So I was 4, and my sister was 2. So before he met us, he had lived an entire lifetime, pretty much. He was 47 years old already. So what had happened was he was born in Pennsylvania, and his family used to have these get-togethers like every 5 or 10 years. So he would go back to Pennsylvania for these family get-togethers, and that's where he would see the Amish. He said one time in particular, when he was 27, he talked to this Amish family, and he just liked how the women had to be submissive to the men. And he just really liked that. He was very controlling, so he just really liked that aspect of it. And when he met us, I did not know this until I left the Amish, until I was out in the world, that he was actually wanted for child molestation when he was like late 20s. He was wanted for child molestation in Washington State, and he ran away before they could arrest him. He ran to Alaska and worked on the smelt boats. It was like in the early 70s. And then he became a gold miner in Arizona, so he was like laying low for like maybe 25 years. So I think when me and my sister came along, he was trying to sort of find a way to isolate us from the rest of the world so nobody would ask questions, because he was a child molester. He was molesting me and my sister.
Wow.
So I personally think it was a cover. It worked well. I think it was a cover all of those years. I don't think he really believed in the religion aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. And during that time, did you study the Amish itself, or was it afterwards that your stepfather left as well, too? And did you guys get to actually study the religion? And if you did, what was that actually like? And did you agree with any of what the Amish professed to do?
So through the years growing up, my stepfather would order like lots of books on the Amish. So, we knew what to say, how to act, what the religion was all about. So we did study those, like history of the Amish, what the Amish believe, all of those kinds of things. We knew all of that. But it was very different when I actually got in the Amish community. Reading books about something and actually being in it is two different things. So I knew that when I went to the Amish community, I knew the basics of it. But my mom and my stepfather did not go to the Amish, only me and my sister. My mom and my stepfather weren't allowed in the Amish because they were divorced. So there was no way they could join the Amish if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. But when I went to the Amish and I started learning all the rules, I didn't learn them all in one day. It was like rule after rule after rule. You just slowly learn all of these rules. And I was brainwashed. I believed 100% that I had to be Amish or I would go to hell. That's what I've been told my whole life. So I just started accepting all of these rules, but in my mind, they didn't make sense. One time I asked the family I was living with, like, why can't we wear sandals? If Jesus wore sandals, Amish aren't allowed to wear sandals. And I got in trouble for it. I actually got a visit from the deacon and the bishop for it. So, there was a lot of things that were just very, it just didn't make sense. But, I accepted them because that's how it was.
Mm-hmm. And also too, if you went to these people as well too, and what did you find that was correct about the Amish as well too? What were some of the things that the Amish had professed or practiced, and that was like contradictory to what your stepfather and your mom did?
Well, when I lived with my mother and my stepfather, we were just pretending. We were not Amish. So all we did was pretend on the outside. We wore the clothes. We didn't have electricity. We were off the grid. And that's as far as our Amish living went. We didn't have the traditions. We didn't have, any of those things ingrained. It was just all for show. But when I went to the Amish, it was very different because there was just these ingrained traditions, ingrained, like, how you act, how you talk. You can't copy those things from a book. So, it was a real culture shock because coming from the outside into something like that, for me, that had been, sort of raised that way, it was still a very big shock. I can't imagine how much a shock it would be for someone just coming straight out of the outside world into there. It's just... it's its own culture. It's like its own, it's the Amish are like a people of their own, and they've been practicing the same traditions, the same things since the early 1600s when they started. Mm-hmm. So,
and give us some examples of it, how they acted, how they spoke, and some of the customs and what their work day is like, from what you observed.
Yeah, so, the work day wasn't that big of a shock because I had been working like that since I was a small kid, since I was like 10 years old. So the work day wasn't really a shock at all to me. I'd actually been, sister were like literal slaves. But yeah, we would usually get up, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, do the chores, eat breakfast afterwards, and then, start the daily work. Cleaning the house, canning, cooking, quilting, whatever it was that we had to do that day. As far as the mannerisms, the community that I went to was one of the strictest Amish communities there is. So it's very hard for women, especially unmarried girls. Like every supposed sin that's committed is committed by an unmarried girl. Unmarried girls are watched, if their head covering's untied, if their dress is an inch too short. There's a lot of pressure put on unmarried girls. If something happens to them, it's their fault. If they're like sexually abused or something, they did something to cause it. It's that kind of a culture where, for me, it was very difficult because I hadn't been taught that you don't, look a man in the eyes. You don't look at their face. We were taught we had to look at the floor when we walked. That's how they did it in my community. So that was a little bit hard to learn. When you're sitting in church, you don't look at the men on the other side. You look at the floor. Those things I got in trouble for a lot because I didn't, I had never been taught that. If you don't grow up in it, it's hard to remember it. So that was probably one of the hardest things for me to learn was to always, look down.
Mm-hmm.
Follow behind.
And what was the reason for looking down on the floor instead of making eye contact? What was the reason behind that?
Well, they say that a woman is supposed to be submissive, not in any way try to attract attention to herself. So if you're looking, if you're sitting in church, the men and the women face each other. They sit on different sides of the church, and they face each other. So if you're sitting on the women's side, it's just natural to look across the other side where the men are. But you're not allowed to do that because it's not submissive. It's trying to get attention for yourself. Maybe trying to get a boyfriend if you're a teenage girl. and you're never supposed to do those sort of things. So the men can look across at the women's side, but the women, the unmarried girls, cannot look across at the men's side. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just a tradition they have, I guess.
And then by the time you left the Amish, you had a second-grade education. You also had severe PTSD, and you're also a nursing school graduate as well, too, an activist for sexual assault and child abuse awareness groups. So something did come out of it, yes.
Yes. So, unfortunately, during my time among the Amish, I ended up moving in the bishop's house, the bishop of our church, and all of those safeguards that they put in place, looking at the floor, wearing this, really long dresses, and not talking to men, I was still sexually abused for 6 months. So that's one thing, I try to tell people, it's not the clothes that you wear, it's not all of these safeguards you put in place. Women and children are still sexually abused. So it's more about the teaching that you teach your church rather than the clothes that you wear in the church. So I eventually went to the police. I turned the bishop of my church into the police because I believed that he was molesting his children, and I turned out to be right. But unfortunately, the police didn't arrest him, and about a month after I reported him, he took all of his children and he went across the border into Canada, and, they were gone. So I left the Amish, and about 7 years after leaving the Amish, I sat down and started writing my memoir. For those 7 years that I had left, I lived with a lot of guilt because I felt bad that I didn't save the children, and I was sure that he was molesting them. And I thought they're just lost in Canada. I wasn't able to save them. And I thought, I'm going to write this book, so maybe the next time somebody from a plain community or a Christian community or somebody goes to the police, maybe the police will listen to them. Because when I went to the police, they just dragged their feet, and they told me to my face, they said specifically, we have to be very careful that we do not trample on his religious rights. That was like their main focus. He's from a strict religion. We have to be very careful that we don't infringe on those religious rights. And then by doing so, they were infringing on my right to safety. Like, I was not their main concern. So that's one reason I started writing the book, to raise awareness, that the Amish, the Mennonites, the plain communities are not this like fairy tale, sweet, docile people that they're made out to be, like in Amish romance novels and all of those things. That's fantasy, that's fiction, that's not real life. So that's one reason I sat down to write the book.
That is fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the book, Tears of the Silence. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also, you can also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Misty Griffin of Tears of the Silence, available on Kindle, Mango Publishing, and also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, and more. We talked about her experience in the Amish community, and all this sexual abuse and what's happening in the Amish community has also inspired her to write the book Tears of the Silence. And of course, tell us more about the book as well.
So it took me about 1.5 years to write the book, and I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know how to publish it or anything, so I just self-published it on Amazon. It was just becoming popular at that time, and And I thought if it just helps one person, that'll be something, because I had this guilt for not saving the bishop's children. I tried, but, nobody would listen to me. So I just self-published it. And, the first part of my book is about child abuse. And, I really stress, people need to report child abuse when they see it. I mean, there's so much of it, and people need to start, stepping in and doing something about it. So I put it just on Amazon. I thought, nobody's ever going to see this book because I didn't know how to advertise. I didn't know how to do anything. And then about maybe a few days after I uploaded it, I logged in to Amazon to see, what it was doing, and it was selling already. It was actually selling in the UK.
Wow.
And then it started selling here. Yeah, it first sold in the UK, maybe 4 or 5 copies a day. And then it just started gaining popularity. I kept it at, 99 cents for a long time, just, so people could afford it. I just wanted everybody who could see it to get it, to maybe help somebody. Mm-hmm. And I put my email in the back of it, and then I just started receiving a flood of emails from all over the world, all over. I've gotten an email from Fiji. That's a random place to get an email from. South Africa, all over Europe. And a lot of these emails were from people that had grown up in, these little off-the-grid churches. And they had, very similar experience to mine, which was bad. I mean, I got some from Germany, from Holland. I mean, it's everywhere. They said, the churches were very controlling. They didn't want to let them leave. They weren't Amish, but they were people who were sort of in love with the Amish and Mennonite way of life. And they'd started their own churches with maybe 8 or 10 families or something.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. So I just started receiving all these emails and replying, and then, they told me, so many of them told me that, I was sexually abused too. You're the first person I've ever told about it, and, I just started realizing my story is very strange and different, but there's so many more people out there with my story that, people just never hear of.
Mm-hmm. And what percentage would you say that you're getting from the Amish community in response to the book? It sounds like you're getting a lot from the Amish community. How much a percentage would you say is coming from the Amish community in response to the book?
It's really not a whole lot. I mean, there has been some, but, the Amish, they don't have phones or email or anything like that. In the last year, I have gotten responses from the Amish, though. I had an Amish man up in Montana used his work email to email me a letter, or fax me. Somehow he faxed me a letter. I think somebody at his work faxed it to me. I had somebody contact me on Facebook. She had a phone. She wasn't supposed to have a phone. And she messaged me on Facebook. And so far, all of maybe I've had, maybe 10 contacts from within the Amish. And all of them are positive, and they tell me, they said, thank you so much for raising awareness about this issue, because we can't do it. If we do it, we're going to be shunned. We can't do it from the inside. We need somebody on the outside doing it for us. And if there's enough pressure from the outside, eventually the Amish will have to change their customs in regards to sexual abuse. They'll have to start reporting it, because otherwise they'll get in trouble from the outside law. So that's what I'm hoping, that by raising awareness about it, it'll put pressure on the Amish, all of the plain communities, and let them know that they have to report these cases and stop handling them internally. Mm-hmm. And, the more awareness we raise about it, the more pressure it's going to put on them to do that.
How about the other churches as well, too? Did you get anybody, say, from the Catholic Church, Lutheran, Presbyterian, or, say, the Mormon churches or any other churches? And how much response did you get from the other churches, even non-denominational?
Oh, yeah, a lot from others, a lot. Jehovah's Witness is probably the biggest one. Mormons, Holiness, Pentecostal, Catholic. I mean, probably pretty much every denomination.
Yeah, it's that was something as well too, and of course, lately as well too. There's that Harvey Weinstein sexual abuse trial. Everybody's been talking about that, and you can also give us some of your thoughts about the sexual abuse trial of Harvey Weinstein, and there was an outcome of it too that just kind of turned some heads in ways. So you can just give us your thoughts on that.
The Harvey Weinstein trial is a big deal because he was so powerful. And, I have asked this question, it is a big deal, and, because he was one of the really powerful people in Hollywood. But, I've asked people, if you were to mix religion into that mix, do you think that Harvey Weinstein trial would have happened? It's powerful. It's one thing to be powerful with, like, money, companies, even Hollywood. But one thing that's even more powerful is religion. And that's one thing that I find different is that when it comes to religion, there's so much more hesitancy to bring down people like Harvey Weinstein that are in a religious setting. So I think it's wonderful that, Harvey Weinstein is being prosecuted and brought to justice, hopefully. But I think that people need to focus some attention on the power that religious men have. I believe they have way more power than Harvey Weinstein had over people's minds, their lives. They literally control everything about them.
Mm-hmm. And this even happened, say, not just recently, but 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years ago, this has happened as well, too. You got to go way back. It was just, I have no words at this point.
Yes.
And of course, we'll also talk about some of the things you can do and also be involved in awareness groups and more. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Misty Griffin of Tears of the Silence. Now available on Kindle, Mango Publishing, Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, and more. Talked about her dealing in the Amish community with sexual abuse, also being sexually abused by the bishop and family. And, just hearing this story, it just makes you just cringe, cry, and everything else. And it's just, I have no words at this point. I got to say this, too. But basically, Misty, your courage and openness have been inspirational to thousands of readers who were or are victims of repeated abuse. And also just another thing as well, too, that, after reading this book, it's like, how can people get help for sexual abuse and where to turn to and what support groups are there?
So, if you have access to electricity, to a phone, probably RAIN is one of the best support groups for sexual abuse survivors. That's, I believe it's RAINN. It's a website you can go on, rain.org, and, you can call somebody for help to talk you through, whatever you're going through. I really encourage that, and then maybe they can guide you to going to the police, but I would say if you are a sexual abuse victim, 9 chances out of 10 people stay quiet about it. But one thing about staying quiet about it, it just allows the abuser to go on and, abuse you more or abuse someone else. So, it's very important, if you can, to report it. But if you're in the plain communities, there's really not that many support groups. It's hard to get the word out because the church will block any activism anyone tries to do about something like that. There are some people out there that will help, like me through my email. If you're out there, you can email, MistyGriffin@gmail.com. That's my email for abuse victims and people who read my book. There's the Plain People's podcast. But, really, there's not really that many support groups. And it's just really hard to get the word out if there were any, because in a lot of plain communities, there's no phone, there's no internet. That's one of the problems. People are just in the church, and they do whatever the church tells them to do, and the church tells them to forgive and forget. And that's what they do. And then the predator is just allowed to, go on and have so many more victims. If they are punished by the church among the Mennonites and the Amish, the perpetrator is usually shunned for 2 to 6 weeks. That's the punishment. And then they're forgiven, and nobody can talk about what they did. You're not allowed, once somebody's forgiven, you're not allowed to ever talk about it again. So until the next time it happens. And, I know of so many cases where it's happened multiple times, and they just keep shunning them for 2 to 6 weeks and bringing them back into the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, you basically have a message for abuse survivors, and it's basically you're not alone. Your past doesn't define your future. The abuse you endure is not your fault. Moving forward is possible. And, of course, that you also have moved on some other things. You're a nursing school grad and also an activist as well, too. And also, too, what encouraged you to get into nursing?
Well, I always wanted to be in some sort of medical field, when I was a kid. I was growing up Amish, so it wasn't allowed. But I guess what inspired me was, I don't know, it was very strange. Like in the early 90s, I picked up this National Geographic, and it was like from 1989. It was like the height of the AIDS epidemic. And I was like looking at all these pictures of the doctors down in Africa, trying to save these AIDS patients. And I don't know, it just stuck with me forever. I told myself I'm going to become a doctor and cure AIDS. Of course, it didn't happen. But I don't know. When I left the Amish, I just decided to go into nursing school because I just always wanted to do something, medically related.
Mm-hmm. And also give back to community as well, too. And of course, your book basically not only got a lot of attention, but the must-read memoir has stirred a lot of interest, and it looks like you got something in the works in terms of a TV series, and just tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I have two producers that they have, opted the rights of my book for a TV series. And now they're trying to secure funding, and they have, several things in the works, and we're very hopeful that we'll have the funding for it soon. So, yeah, maybe a 1 or 2 season series.
Okay. And when are we expecting it?
I don't know. They have to secure the funding. They're very hopeful they'll have it, in the next few months, maybe. I'm not really sure about that end, but then we would go into production. So probably a year and a half. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we're looking forward as well too. And of course, just a couple more minutes here with author Misty Griffin of Tears of the Silence here on the Mike Wagner Show. You can find the book on Kindle, Mango Publishing, Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, and more. And who do you consider your favorite writer?
I don't know if anybody would know. Growing up, I read a lot of old stories. So probably one of my favorite books is Uncle Tom's Cabin. So I guess Harriet Beecher Stowe. I know it's very outdated, and they say it's not racially adequate or anything. But for me as a kid, being held like a slave, I just really identified with Uncle Tom. So that's always been my favorite book, I guess.
That's also one of my favorites as well, too, and I see no problem with that. So a lot of classics are a good thing. And also, what are your upcoming plans for 2020?
Well, I just graduated nursing school, so I'm studying for the license now, and hopefully working on this TV series. So, I'm probably going to write a lot of the scripts for the series if it goes through. So that'll keep me pretty busy, I think.
Oh, that'd be great. And will you expect any more books from you in the future besides Tears of the Silenced?
I am working on another book. I have like a lot of other ex-Amish, ex-Mennonite sexual abuse survivors that I'm gathering together. I'm doing interviews with them, so I'm hoping to put that all into a book maybe in the next year or so, and publish their stories as well. The more stories we can get out there, the more awareness it'll raise. So I'm hoping to do that within the next year.
That'd be fantastic. And do us a favor, keep this up to date. We'd love to have you back on and give us an update on your book and your other projects as well, too. And just a couple more things here. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
For nursing?
For nursing, for writing, or just in general?
I don't know, really. That's a hard one. I really don't know. An influence, I guess, I think one of the ways that I achieved all of these things was just believing in myself that I could do it and depending on myself. As far as inspiration, I really don't know because, I didn't really grow up with any inspiration. So probably the main inspiration for achieving all of these things was the fact that I grew up with nothing and no education. And I probably wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. Maybe. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I know that doesn't really answer your question.
No, that's fine. It's perfect. I have to say that. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Don't let anybody tell you that you can't achieve something. I had a second grade education. I came out into the modern world when I was 22 that I knew nothing about. If I can achieve, going to school, learning how to live in the modern world, anything's possible. And, just never give up. I could have given up so many times, but I didn't. So, if you have a goal, just keep plugging away at it and just never give up. It might take years for you to reach that goal, but if it's worth, doing, then just keep at it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good point as well, too. Misty, just want to say a big thank you for your time. Once again, author Misty Griffin of The Mike Wagner Show with Tears of the Sounds. You can find the book on Kindle, Mago Publishing, Amazon, and more. Once again, Misty, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people purchase your books?
My book is mostly sold on Amazon. So it's on Amazon Kindle. You can get paperback, hardcover, audio. And I don't really have a website. I'm on Twitter at xamish101 if anybody wants to follow me. My email is in the book. My email is mistygriffin@gmail.com. That's my public email. If anybody wants to, contact me, I try to help anybody who contacts me. So, so I'm just planning on writing another book in the next year and a half about other ex-Amish and ex-Mennonite sexual abuse survivors to try to raise more awareness. And I'm hoping to start a series, based on my life when we get the funding. And, that'll raise even more awareness. So I'm just hoping that will raise awareness for people on the outside that, they need to look into these plain communities and not just assume that it's all, the fairy tale lifestyle that people are made to think it is, because it's not. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Right, exactly. Misty, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date, and looking forward to have you on again. We'd love to have you back on again soon.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.